Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that could literally rewrite the way we handle life's absolute toughest challenges. We are looking at this incredibly fascinating open source project called Compass. It's an AI decision intelligence system, and we're going to unpack exactly how this system uses a multi-agent architecture to completely upgrade our personal decision-making. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of the technology, I want you to think about this for a second. When was the last time you faced a truly high-stakes life decision? Maybe you were mulling over a massive career pivot or deciding whether to pack up your entire life and move to a new city. Maybe it was a huge financial investment. Think about the sheer stress of that moment. You know, the sleepless nights, that endless back and forth echoing in your head, the paralyzing fear of just making the wrong choice. The emotional stakes in those moments are incredibly high, aren't they?
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the flawed human brain, and exactly why high-stakes choices are so hard. Because let's face it, when the pressure's really on, our brains aren't exactly the perfect, rational calculators we'd like them to be. In fact, human cognition is routinely sabotaged by some pretty severe biases. We've got the inside view, we suffer from confirmation bias, where we just kind of selectively hunt for data that justifies what we already secretly want to do, conveniently ignoring all the glaring red flags. We've got information blind spots because none of us are experts in everything all at once. And finally, binary thinking. We get trapped in a corner asking ourselves, should I do X or not? Completely forgetting to look at entirely different alternative paths. Take a second and reflect on your own blind spots right now. Which of those usually trips you up the most?
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the inside view serves as a perfect, concrete example of this flawed wiring. We basically look at a super complex situation and tell ourselves, well, the odds don't apply to me. Right? Even if the historical base rate says, say, roughly 60% of restaurants fail in their first year, our brain completely convinces us that our secret family recipe is the absolute exception to the rule. We drastically overestimate our unique personal chances of success, and we completely ignore the statistical realities. It's a massive vulnerability when your future is literally on the line.
Moving right along to Section 2, enter the Compass AI, a multi-agent system.
So to actually solve this problem, Compass was built on Google ADK 2.0. This is a framework specifically designed to allow for complex AI reasoning that tackles those exact human flaws. See, traditional software relies on rigid, rule-based logic. If A, then B. But life decisions, they don't fit into a rigid little calculator. Rule-based software is totally inadequate when you have to weigh conflicting personal values or identify hidden biases. Compass totally shifts the paradigm by using autonomous reasoning. Each agent inside the system acts as its own cognitive entity. They formulate hypotheses, dynamically query external tools, and actually construct logical arguments. It's essentially the difference between a static spreadsheet and a really dynamic, highly intelligent thinking partner. Which brings us to Section 3, a panel of AI experts, or as I like to call it, your personal board of directors. Imagine taking raw code and personifying it into an elite, collaborative team that works 24/7 strictly for you. First, you have the realist agent, keeping things entirely grounded in the here and now. Then there's the values keeper, actively making sure you aren't selling your soul for a quick win. The outside view agent forcefully injects those statistical base rates we talked about earlier. You've got the scenario forecaster appearing ahead to map out long-term consequences. And my personal favorite, the devil's advocate, whose entire purpose in life is to aggressively and violently poke holes in your preferred plan. They all work together in parallel to ensure absolutely no blind spot is left unchecked. Let's move to and see how this builds out in the actual system architecture. It starts with step 1, the clarifier, which takes your messy human input and parses out the actual core decision and context. Then it hands the problem over to step 2, the expert panel. Those 5 distinct agents we just met debate and execute their analysis in parallel. Step 3 is the gatekeeper, which acts as a strict quality control check for any missing information. And finally, if everything passes muster, step 4 is the synthesizer. It steps in, pulls all those conflicting expert opinions together, and creates a comprehensive, perfectly balanced final report. Now, you might be wondering, how does the AI actually know what it's talking about? Instead of just guessing and hallucinating answers, Compass uses Model Context Protocol, or MCP server tools, to actively fetch real-world data. For example, the realist agent uses a tool called Fetch Market Stats to pull actual labor market demand and salary numbers, and Fetch Living Costs to look up city indices. Meanwhile, the outside view agent uses Fetch Base Rates to pull the objective statistical realities of events. So the system is actively grounding its advice by pulling hard, real-world statistics right into its parallel reasoning engine. Part 4. Keeping humans in the loop, and what we call the crucial pause. For Compass, human in the loop is a literal safety brake. Remember the gatekeeper step from the architecture we just looked at? Well, when the gatekeeper agent realizes there just isn't enough information to give a solid answer, it doesn't just guess. It doesn't hallucinate a response. Instead, it completely stops. It prompts you for clarification. It forces you to clarify your assumptions before it resumes. This gives you ultimate control and ensures the system remains incredibly safe and accurate. So, the crucial point is, how do we know it's giving good advice? Section 5. Measuring decision intelligence and grading the outputs. It's one thing to have a really cool architecture, but we have to prove it actually works, right? The creators built in an automated evaluation system where outputs are strictly graded on 3 metrics, all scored on a scale of 1 to 5. First is multi-perspective coverage. Does the final report actually reflect all 5 expert viewpoints, or did it totally ignore the devil's advocate? Second is human-in-the-loop appropriateness. Did the system actually pause and ask the user a question at the exact right time? And third is synthesis quality. Is the final report genuinely balanced, realistic, and helpful? This strict automated grading ensures the system continues to operate as a really high-level cognitive partner. And this brilliantly illustrates the philosophy behind the entire project. The documentation puts it perfectly. Compass helps you see all angles, but the final decision is always yours. The goal of this multi-agent AI isn't to live your life for you. It's not a magic 8-ball that just spits out what you should do. It is a powerful tool designed to strip away your cognitive biases, present you with the hard facts, and ultimately empower your human agency so you can make the absolute best possible choice for yourself. So we've covered the flaws of human reasoning, the architecture of a multi-agent system, and exactly how Compass grounds itself in real data while keeping you firmly in the driver's seat. So here's my question for you. What high-stakes decision are you going to entrust to your AI panel? Think about that big choice you've been putting off. Maybe it's time to let the realist, the scenario forecaster, and the devil's advocate have a look at it. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, this is Compass, an AI decision intelligence system designed to help people make better high-stakes decisions. Instead of giving a quick answer, Compass reasons through the problem using multiple AI experts working together. Here, I'm entering a real-life decision together with some background information. The more context the user provides, the more personalized and reliable the analysis becomes. Once the request is submitted, Compass begins its reasoning process. Rather than jumping directly to a recommendation, the system first analyzes the problem and determines what information is available. Behind the scenes, multiple specialized agents collaborate to evaluate the decision from differ. As the analysis progresses, you can see the report being generated step by step. Instead of producing a single opinion, Compass explains its reasoning, highlights trade-offs, and presents supporting evidence so the user can understand why a recommendation is made. In this example, the system detects that some important information is still missing. Instead of making assumptions, Compass activates its human-in-the-loop workflow and asks the user for clarification. This allows the reasoning process to continue with more accurate and personalized information. After receiving the additional input, the agents continue their analysis and update the final recommendation. The final report doesn't simply answer yes or no. It summarizes the opportunities, risks, important considerations, and practical recommendations in a structured way, helping the user. Compass demonstrates how autonomous AI agents, collaborative reasoning, external knowledge, and human-in-the-loop interaction can work together to support complex decision-making. Thank you for watching.